Welcome, my friend. Happy morning. Happy Tuesday. I hope everybody's doing great. I'm excited to start another session of Growth Bites. I'm Eduardo Lopez Pineda. Ambitious finance managers hire me because they feel like their careers have stalled. They're frustrated because they're not making the kind of money they could be making. And I help them get earmarked for more and faster promotions, faster growth, and to get the kind of money and the kind of life that they deserve. I do this in 2 years or less, guaranteed. If that sounds like you, drop a comment, contact me. You have all of my information in the links below, and we can have a good conversation. There's a lot of good things happening these days around where I live. Spring is starting to come back, the weather's starting to improve, and I hope that's also true of you. Very, very good questions today. So let's get straight into them, and hopefully there's going to be enough time to tackle all of them. Let me see the first one for today here, and you should see it on the screen. I have many strategic initiatives that are needed, but I can't spend time on them because I'm swamped with work. I don't want to be typecast. So when you say you do not want to be typecast, I believe I understand. And I think the main concern I would have would be if you are always identified as the person who is tackling and putting out all of these fires and these things that are, in the big scheme of things, minutia, that are not quite important, then people can overlook that you have the ability to make a much more strategic contribution. So you want to make sure that you are continuously looking for opportunities to showcase your abilities, the things that you can do. Get into conversations that will show that you have a bigger, broader view of the strategy of the company, and look for participation in projects that will allow you to show exactly all of those other abilities that you have to bring to the table. I think that it's a very fine line you need to walk when there's many fires that need to be put out and you are capable of doing that. Of course, never hold back. Always do try your best to put out the fires. But the point I'm trying to make is that the fine line is in doing that all the time and only that, because then all of your other many abilities are going to be overshadowed by the urgency of the fires that you're putting out. Does that make sense? So you need to make sure that while you are putting out fires, while you are uh, giving attention to things that require attention right now, you need to make sure that you do have conversations with your manager, with your hierarchy, so that they know that while you're going to do this, there's many other things that you want to do with your career. There's many other things that you're inspired by. There's many other things that you could be counted on for. So make sure that you are the first person to start advertising your additional abilities so that you're not typecast, and make sure that you're not saying yes to everything. That's the other problem. When there's many things going on and there's many things that are urgent and people come to you and ask you to take care of as many of them as you'll say yes to, you have to stop saying yes at some point. You have to move to really focus on those things that'll move the needle, that will make a difference, and that are important. And even if you're putting out fires, just to repeat myself, let your manager know that this is not who you are. There's many other things you bring to the table, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do this gladly, but there's many other things that you're aspiring to. If you stay quiet and just take it on, by being silent and taking it on, you're gonna help create or perpetuate this image, and you're going to be typecast, and you're not helping yourself. I hope that made sense and helped. Let me go to the next question. Okay, how can I strengthen my executive presence? What are the main things? Very important question. So there are many things that you need to take care of if you want to be promoted, if you want to be taken seriously for more senior roles in your company. And one of the most important is going to be your executive presence. Obviously, you will have to have the technical knowledge, the specific knowledge of the area in which you work. But on top of that, you will have to have executive presence, which is when you walk into a room, how do you fill that room? How is everybody reacting to your being there? When you start speaking, do they quiet down and pay attention to what you're saying? Or do they just keep on speaking? Do you need to, do all kinds of noises and theatrics to get people's attention? Executive presence is all about inspiring the respect that you deserve. It's about commanding the room. It's about conveying competence, conveying the confidence that you are the right person to do the job. I would break, it's not like I'm making this up. This is the way that typically executive presence get described. There are three big dimensions that you need to think of when thinking about executive presence. One is your gravitas. This is what I was just discussing. When you walk into a room, do you feel, well, not do you feel, do you fill? Do you fill the room? Is your presence commanding? Do people hush down to turn around and see who just entered the room? Do people pay attention to what you're saying? Gravitas is that weighty presence that you have when you enter a room. That's number one. Number two is how you communicate. Are you able to be succinct and clear and convey your messages in a very well articulated form that shows that you have thought things through? Or are you rambling on and on without making a point? Or do you keep on making the same point repeatedly such that you lose everybody's attention? The ability to very clearly convey your thoughts, complex ideas even, in a way that is clear, that is punchy, that is abbreviated, that does not lose everybody's attention is key to your executive presence. So once you go into that room and you command it with your presence and you have something to say, are you able to say it clearly? Are you able to say it powerfully? Are you able to structure a message in a convincing enough way? And as a little bit of a segue here, that's why written communication is so important. That's why you need to be good at effective business writing. Because when you are good at that, when you are able to synthesize your ideas within a piece of paper, even if you don't send that paper to anybody, always do that. The more complex the idea, sit down on your own in front of your computer, piece of paper, your notebook, your journal, whatever, and try to distill that complex concept into that single piece of paper. When you are able to do that, you will see more clearly how you need to position it, how your whole articulation needs to flow, if that's going to be verbal communication, and how to best transmit it depending on who your audience is. All of these things are items, topics that you need to be aware of when you have good written communications. So there's no thought that is complete unless it's well articulated. If you have the ability to do that well, then it's not only your commanding presence, your gravitas, it's also going to be your effectiveness in conveying the message. And the third one is your appearance. By this, I don't mean necessarily dark suit, white shirt, red tie, or some other type of tie, you choose the color. I don't mean a tailored suit. I don't mean anything that's necessarily business for ladies or for gentlemen, right? It depends on what your company culture is. If your company culture is very relaxed, then appropriate for that culture could be a t-shirt, jeans, and tennis shoes. There's many startups that have a very strict code of relaxed business attire, or let's say relaxed work attire. I've seen places where people go to work in shorts, and that's the culture, and it's accepted. So you need to look the part for the culture in which you work. So it's these three elements. It's your gravitas, which is your presence and how you fill that room. It's your ability to transmit ideas in a way that is clear, succinct, and powerful, and well articulated, well thought through, and clear. And it's your appearance. Do you look the part? Do other leaders believe that you can be one of them when they see you, when they hear you, when you are presenting or discussing anything with them? Those are the three things that you need to be attentive to when you're trying to improve your executive presence. The third one, the appearance, is particularly dependent on the company, on the culture, on where you are and the type of work you do. You have to be aware of how other senior leaders that you aspire to be like look like. What's the culture? What are you going to do to convey the fact that you can transmit and positively affect that culture? So those are the three elements. And I would say probably underlying all of this is the belief, hear me out, the belief that you can do the job, that you're the right person, that your abilities are what your company, what that team needs, because that'll drive that gravitas. So believe in your abilities, believe in your skills, believe in your knowledge, and go in there knowing that you will kill it. That'll give you the gravitas. The rest is up to you. You need to observe the appearance. What's the appearance that's going to be right for your company and your culture? And how clearly are you going to be expressing your points? How well articulated is whatever you're going to be presenting? How well thought through and how direct as opposed to rambling and all over the place. I hope that helped. Let me go to the next question. Okay, my company cut expenses deeply. My team members are spending 100% of their time on fire drills. How can I retain them? By your question, I assume that you're concerned that they're spending all of that time just working, and they could burn out. And that's a very legitimate concern. It could happen. It's very common these days when there's just a lot of cost cutting going on, and everything is urgent, and everybody is being asked to do more. This is a great opportunity for you as a leader to distinguish yourself and to help your team differentiate themselves from others. The first thing you need to do is, last week we spoke about humble leadership and how a humble leader provides air cover for his or her team. Well, be that. Provide air cover for your team. Go and talk to your boss. Go and talk to your stakeholders or those stakeholders that are demanding work of them. And be as clear as you can about the fact that we need to be very careful with how we set our priorities because our resources are limited. We don't have as much money as we thought to invest in automation or in more people or in consulting or whatever else that might help you solve the problem. You need to be strong in conveying to your boss, and you will be helping her or helping him by letting him or her know what the priorities need to be, where you need help, and what should be probably pushed out for later or killed altogether. So your job as a leader is make sure that you are providing as much air cover for your team as possible. That said, let them see that. Have conversations with them about what they think is important, what's stake in their time. What are those things that are just distractions that are keeping them from delivering to you what you need? The same as you will talk to your boss, you facilitate that conversation with your own team members. When you have that information, that's what's going to allow you or enable you to have that chat with your boss or with other senior stakeholders where you're going to try to filter out those things that are really key so that your team can focus on them. And let your team know, like I said, that you are listening to them, you are absorbing it, digesting it, and you're going to help them through helping with your boss, with your other senior stakeholders to identify what not to do, what to stop, what to delay. Setting priorities for your team in this period, in this, let's say, turmoil, in this environment of turmoil is key. Because the most natural thing that's going to happen is they're going to be pulled in 1,000 different directions. You want to make sure that while this will be the case inevitably for a little while, the number of directions in which they are pulled is minimized. So even if it's more than usual, make sure that it's minimized as much as you can, and then give them certainty that you're fighting for them and that there's got to be an end to this, right? At some point, hopefully you can convey to them a window within which they can expect the situation to change. This is not sustainable, so let them know that that's the case. Care for their well-being, care for your well-being. Make sure that you reward them, that you spend time with them. Get them to concentrate on things that are not just the work, and help them get the balance that they can get. And that's an important thing as well. The well-being of yourself and of your team members is something that you should really, really be careful about. There's no guarantee that any of these things are going to magically make them feel all warm and fuzzy, that all of a sudden there's no more work, or they're not tired, or they don't feel a little frazzled because there's just a lot going on. What you can do is let them know that you care, that you know, and that you're doing something about it to kind of bring an end to this at some point. That's the important thing. Let them be part of the solution rather than trying to hide it from them and pretend like it's not happening. I've seen that that's a big mistake. Help them see that you're working on it, enlist their help to try to identify an improvement or the things that could be, how things could be prioritized, and let them know that this is something that you are aware of, that you appreciate, and that you will help them resolve. And be transparent. Just be upfront about it. Yes, we have this problem. There's a lot of work. I know you're burning the midnight oil. I know you're spreading across different things, and I'm working on it. And let them be part of the solution. I think that's the best bet, because that'll give them a sense of control, and that'll give you a little bit more control over how to curtail the negative effects of this turmoil on your group. Okay, let's move to the next one. Thank you for that question. All right. Okay, let me see. I have a colleague who won't stop interrupting. Sometimes he is super rude. How to handle this without damaging my image? Well, we are surrounded by human beings, and human beings are imperfect. All of us are. And oftentimes we will find that people react negatively. The first thing you need to do is try to understand what could be causing your colleague to act that way. Is it something you're doing? Are you probably rambling on, and that's why he interrupts? Is he rude because you inadvertently are also being aggressive towards him? Or are you saying things in a tone that could be perceived as being aggressive towards him? I'm not trying to put this on you. I'm just making the point that always when you have some sort of conflict with somebody else in your place of work, you need to analyze, am I causing this? To which degree? What could I be doing wrong? Because only when you are clear that you're doing everything you can to make the situation better, or in other words, that you're not doing something that's causing that, in which case it's easy because now you know what to change. Then is when you start to think about, all right, how do I address this person? If he's indeed being rude, if he's interrupting you in an inappropriate way, then my first approach would be one-on-one, talk to the person, let him know or her know. Well, in this case, I know it's a him because of how you worded your question. But let the person know that their modus of interaction, their way of interacting with you is causing a problem, how it's making you feel, what's the impact, and try to address with them, how can we approach this in a different way? 9 times out of 10, if not more, this will take care of a big part of the issue, because he at least will be aware that he's offending you or he's making you feel bad. If that doesn't help, then the next step up is you call him out in a meeting. So if you're in a meeting where he's being rude and he interrupts you, You need to call him out in a polite way. Of course, I'm not advocating here that you throw something at him. Don't, please. But what you want to do is say, hey, whatever his name is, John. Hey, John, the tone of that question was actually offensive, and I don't think that was appropriate. I'm pretty sure you didn't mean it that way. Could you tell me what's really troubling you? Or something to that effect. The point is, in a very polite way, you're calling him out and you're letting him know, putting him on notice that the way he's addressing you is offensive, it's inappropriate, and you won't take it. And then you're forcing him or her, well, him to express his problem. What's disquieting him? And you can have a more civilized conversation about it. The most important part of this way of addressing it is that you will let him know that you don't care for the way he's talking to you and you find it disrespectful. You can follow this up with a one-on-one conversation where you tell him, hey, sorry I needed to do that, but remember that we spoke. But remember that this is a problem. But I don't want you to do this anymore. If that doesn't work, then let your boss know that you're going to go and have a conversation with the person and be very direct with him, saying, this is not appropriate. Please do not address me like that. That needs to stop. This cannot repeat. Let him know and let everybody else know, if that's happening in a meeting, that you're not a pushover. Listen, I'll share a story with you. It's happened to me where I was caught totally unawares by somebody who was very rude, very aggressive. And that meeting, I didn't know how to react. Honestly, I was dumbfounded. I think I just let myself be kicked around that meeting. And I had to go and have a conversation with the person, and it was a pretty unpleasant conversation because by the time I went and had it, I had a lot of anger bottled up. I'm being transparent here. And I was just frustrated even that I had been cowed into silence. So don't let that happen. Stand up for yourself. Show that you're not going to let yourself be pushed around, and do it in a polite way, but you do need to curtail it. Don't let it happen. Don't let it repeat if it's already happened. Cut it short, even if it's unpleasant. Bite the bullet, do it once, and that'll help. But if you just let it, hoping that it'll stop, it will not, it'll get worse. So my friend, be constructive about it. Talk to the person one-on-one. If that doesn't help, call him out in a meeting and say, I don't care for the tone you asked that question in. I don't care for your tone as you make that comment. What exactly do you mean? What is concerning you? Let's work on that in a civilized way. And that doesn't work, then you need to take it up another level and go and talk to the person in an unequivocal way that he will know that this is not okay. Let your boss know that you're going to do that. Okay? I'm sorry you're going through this situation. It's never pleasant, but it happens. It's life. Like I said, we're surrounded by human beings, and not all of us are perfect. So seriously speaking, nobody's perfect. We all have defects. We all have problems, and sometimes we're not aware. So it'll help if you make the person, aware, conscious that he's causing this problem, and let him know and let the rest of the team know that it's not okay to talk to you like that. It's unproductive, and I think that that's what you should give priority to. Don't let this affect you. But again, I hasten to add before I move on, do not make this a conflict. Try to understand what you might be doing and try to understand what the framework is for the person. Why is he acting up like that? And if you approach him 9 times out of 10, that'll help. Okay? Thanks for the question. Okay, final question. Why am I always overlooked for promotion? Well, my friend, this is a sensitive topic. The first thing I will ask is, I guess a little bit of tough love here. How do you know you're in the running? Are you sure you're in the running? And I don't mean this to minimize your concern or to take away from the question. It's a fantastic question. But you also need to be frank with yourself and know whether your expectation of being promoted is it realistic? Why do you expect to be promoted? Now, if you have a realistic case, if you have been told that you are in the running, if you have been told that you're, in the final list of runners up in the short list, and you don't get it, then why were you overlooked? Well, go and seek the feedback. Ask your supervisor, why didn't I get the promotion? What's missing? What do I need to work on? Never make it a confrontational thing where your focus is going to be accusatory, accusing your boss of overlooking you, because there might be a reason. Make it constructive. Make it an opportunity for you to learn. Make it an opportunity for you to note what you need to improve on. And that's where you use your growth mindset. This is an opportunity for you to learn something that you can improve, that you can do better, that you can grow on. So go and have that conversation. Now, the other thing is the other person more visible than you are? Maybe you're not tooting your own horn enough. If you're doing a lot of good work, if you're doing a ton of work, if you are solving a lot of problems, but nobody knows, that's problematic too. Because when leaders get together to decide who to promote, they will look for evidence. What have you done that shows that you are operating at the next level up, at the level to which you want to be promoted? What have you done to demonstrate that you have built a team that's capable of taking your job and pushing you up? What have you done to show that you are a leader of the future that can take decisions that are going to move that company forward, the needle, in the direction that you need it to move? If nobody knows, my friend, then chances are minimized that you're going to get promoted. So it could be that you're not getting promoted, you're getting overlooked because the other people are more visible. Evaluate, assess yourself. When you're in team settings, in meetings, and there's initiatives going on, do you have initiatives? Do you start initiatives? Do you propose things to do? Are you visible? Are you trying to solve the problem rather than bringing issues that you find to your boss and then going and doing whatever he or she tells you? If you do that, and if you're successful in executing on the things that he or she told you would solve the problem, then great. But that shows you're a great soldier. Doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to take action on a problem that you find. And that could also be part of the issue. When I was working my corporate life as CFO, and as I was growing up towards that position, I was in many conversations where we were evaluating who to promote. And we compared people one against the other. And we did what we called calibration, which is trying to measure everybody with the same yardstick. One of the things that we asked for very early on in the conversation, sorry about that, is he or she developing their team? Is he or she developing somebody who will come in after them that will be future talent that we can continue to develop, that will help us run the company as we grow? If you have a team that's growing, if you're a senior leader that's developing talent in a successful way, then guess what? That first question, very, very important question, one of the most key questions that people are going to ask when evaluating whether you're ready to be promoted or not, it's going to be successfully met. But think about it. Are you working on your team? Are you developing your team? Are you giving them opportunity to grow? The other thing is, are you tooting your own horn? Are you letting everybody know what you're doing? Then are you going back to the question earlier today about executive presence, are you being the leader? Are you showing that you can be the leader that the company needs? Is your presence strong enough? How's your gravitas? Are you good at communicating yourself or with senior stakeholders, obviously communicating yourself? Are you good at communicating with senior leaders? Are you good and clear about structuring your message, articulating your thoughts, conveying them in a clear enough way that they will make you influential? Do you look the part? All of these things are things that you need to understand in your context and assess when you're yourself evaluating, what didn't I get the promotion? But the most important thing is go and ask, why didn't I get it? What do I need to do in order to be promoted in the near future? And so those are the things that I would recommend. And with this, my friends, we're at the bottom of the hour. We ran out of time, and great questions. Let's meet again next Tuesday, as usual, 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern. Bring your questions, go to Slido, submit your questions there before Monday, and I will see you soon. Don't forget to grab the course in executive presence, free course in executive presence. That's down here in my description. Have a fantastic rest of the week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.